Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard, and thank you for watching today's Northeast Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrient Ag Solutions. So checking with the jet stream here on Tuesday morning, we continue to see a broad ridge overall across the western United States, some troughing over the eastern U.S. We're watching storm track kind of go through the Canadian prairies, up and over the top of that ridge, through the Great Lakes, and then off the east coast here. And that's kept us pretty hot, pretty quiet across the desert southwest. But it's also allowed a storm system to kind of track up and over the top of that ridge through the northern plains into parts of the central and eventually the eastern Corn Belt. And that same system is going to bring some precipitation into the northeast region here over the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll take a look at that. As we take this thing out, though, into the first few days of August, we see a very, very similar picture. This ridge doesn't go anywhere, and we continue to see the northern stream here kind of seeing an active storm track up and over the top of that ridge, keeping things kind of quiet across the central and the eastern United States in terms of precipitation after this first front makes its way through, until perhaps we get into the next week. So it's a rather quiet and rather kind of cool and less humid pattern across the central U.S. into the northeast region. So you look at the temperature anomaly forecast here over the next 10 days, the first 5 on the left and the 5 that follow that on the right. And again, with this area of high pressure over the central U.S., keeping things very cool across parts of the Midwest, dealing with a little bit of warmth here over the northern portions of the northeast region here. And that's really just kind of a combination of the warmer air mass that's hanging on right now being picked up by this anomaly forecast. But when we look out again into the first week of August or so, keeping a cool bias here over the central and eastern U.S., the eastern 2/3 of the country. The precipitation forecast here, week 1 on the left, week 2 on the right from the GFS ensemble model. Again, holding on to a drier pattern from the central and eastern Corn Belt here into the northeast region as we look at the next week. This takes us into the first few days of August. Beyond that, we do see a shift towards perhaps a wetter pattern, at least from the central and eastern Corn Belt into parts of the northeast region, at least closer to average when we talk about the northeast, maybe flattening out this ridge, taking the jet stream and doing something a little bit more like that, where we see a storm track that's able to tap into some Gulf moisture and bring some rain back to parts of the central and eastern Corn Belt. I'll say that I've got good confidence with the map over here on the left, with this drier pattern across the eastern Corn Belt into the northeast region here, and with this area of higher precipitation across parts of the central plains, Kansas and Missouri, but kind of low-ish confidence with the map on the right here, where we're headed in the week 2 pattern. We've seen kind of low reliability in the forecast beyond 7 days lately, and it's kind of a complex evolution here with this ridge and some of the systems riding over the top of that. So I just don't want to promise a flip back to a wetter pattern, especially across the eastern Corn Belt. That's where my confidence is the lowest, but then certainly as the impacts would be downstream across the northeast region. Want to make sure that it's made obvious here that I've got low confidence as we head into the week 2 time period. So let's look at the last 48 hours of precipitation. You can almost draw the flow of the jet stream in here. You see this ridge over here. We've got a trough kind of moving through. That's what's bringing the action. It brought it to the eastern Corn Belt, and it's bringing it into the northeast region here as we go through the next day or two. We've still got a couple dry corridors, especially across the Corn Belt, as we look at this one here across parts of Iowa and Illinois, but seeing some dryness here, especially across the northern portions of the northeast region as well, missing some data right here across parts of the eastern Corn Belt and the mid-south. As we look at the last 24 to 48 hours of radar here, actually looking at the last 48 hours, taking us all the way back into Sunday, and you can watch this storm system evolve here across the northern plains, tracking through. Here comes the cold front along with it, bringing rain and thunderstorms to parts of the central and eastern Corn Belt, and now making its way into the northeast region. This will be what brings us precipitation here over the next day to day and a half. We also see the flow around the area of high pressure out towards the west. Now the clockwise flow there with scattered thunderstorms developing each afternoon. Looking at the satellite picture, once again, you can almost draw the jet stream flow in there. You've got our area of high pressure off to the west. We've got this little system at frontal boundary digging across parts of the eastern and the central United States. Again, this is going to be bringing thunderstorms, scattered showers and storms to parts of the northeast region here over the next couple of days. Now look at the surface map here on Tuesday morning. Here is the frontal boundary that we're worried about here in the northeast region. Here is the counterclockwise flow around the area of high pressure out towards the west. And then it's this flow around the area of high pressure over the Midwest, combined with this frontal boundary here that's going to be bringing some thunderstorms to parts of the central plains here over the next couple of days. But let's kind of talk about the northeast region. I've got temperatures on the right and precipitation here on the left from the high-resolution NAM model. And the reason I did that is because, the features that are going to be producing the precipitation over the next 60 hours or so show up really well on the temperature map as well. The first thing you'll want to focus on here with the northeast region, it's going to be the front moving through the area, and you're going to be able to see things kind of lighting up here where we see the cooler air pushing into the region. Let's go ahead and we'll draw that in there one more time. We'll go ahead and start the loop, and here you see the frontal boundary. Over there on the right side, you can see the cooler temperatures moving in, and then on the left side, you see the thunderstorms that flare up along that. Let me see if I can go ahead and we'll just pause this so you can see it during the peak heating of the afternoon. Here we go, heading into Tuesday afternoon now. And you see the higher temperatures building in off to the east. Then you see that frontal boundary kind of making its way through the region. And then on the right side, or on the left side, you see the thunderstorms that are associated with that. So let's take this off. Let's go off a little bit further into the future. Looking at the same thing here, we go into Wednesday. That front clears the area, and we just have some slight showers perhaps on the back side there as we bring in a cooler and less humid air mass. Now you see that on Thursday. You see the much cooler temperatures here across the northeast region. Let's go ahead. We'll look at the total accumulated precipitation forecast with this. And here you see the scattered showers, the scattered thunderstorms bringing a smattering of precipitation here where some folks will end up dry, some are going to get downpours. But that's just the way that it's going to be, and that's the way it often is here in the summer. You see the flow around that area of high pressure off to the west, and then we see the feature here bringing some precipitation to parts of the Central Plains. I wanted to show this really just to show the feature causing the rain over the Central Plains. You can watch, we're looking at vorticity here at 500 millibars, and this is a map that we look at a lot to pick out clues as to where we're going to see thunderstorm activity. And areas of high pressure you look, or areas of high vorticity you look where they're headed for areas where we might have vertical motion, and that means the development of clouds and then perhaps precipitation. We see that over here. You see the area of vorticity kind of pushing through. It's a kind of a long area along the front there, the main area of vorticity associated with the area of low pressure off to the north. But let's go ahead and play this, and we'll go through time with it once I get the scrolly bar. Here we go. Let's pause it. You're going to be able to watch an area of vorticity here kind of rotate up and over the top of this area of high pressure. Let's go ahead and play it. There it is, making its way through, and now we're up at the top. Again, you could just watch this kind of rotating up over the top through the Central Plains. That's bringing the shower and storm activity to the region, and then kind of shows itself the door over the Gulf Coast. So just kind of cool how you can watch it, literally tracking up and over the top of this area of high pressure, bringing some precipitation to the Central Plains. Jumping ahead, looking at where we're headed, here's the ridge over the west. You're going to watch this kind of hold on while we watch, a storm system or two tracking up and over the top of this. Here we go, playing this out. There goes one storm system. Here comes another that kind of amplifies the troughing over the U.S. or the eastern U.S., and that's what's going to kind of reinforce a cooler overall pattern. Not looking at any big cold outbreaks or anything like that, but it's what keeps the ridge from really taking over and bringing summer, extreme heat back to the Midwest or back to the Northeast region. So you look at the precipitation forecast with that, you're going to notice first the frontal boundary that's moving through over the next 24 to 48 hours, and then you're going to notice a whole lot of nothing over here until we get to the very end of the loop, and we'd see another similar picture with a frontal boundary making its way through the region. So let's go ahead and let's play it. We're going through quickly. There's the front exiting. Pretty dry overall, though, until now another front makes its way through towards the end of next week. So let's time this out one more time for you. Bring it all the way back. Here's the front that moves through Tuesday, Wednesday, exiting into area by Thursday. Quiet now for your weekend across the Northeast region, aside from perhaps a shower or storm across parts of Pennsylvania on Saturday and Sunday. Playing this out, still dry as we go through Monday now into Tuesday. And by the time we get to now Wednesday, as this is advertised, we see our next area of low pressure, next frontal boundary kind of sweeping through the area more like this, bringing showers and storms to the area mid to late next week. So we get some rain here, and then it looks like maybe a 5, 6, or 7 day break, a 5 to 6, 7 day dry period across the Northeast region until next week. We see our next frontal boundary sweep through the area. The accumulated precipitation forecast with that, here's the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday rain, dry after that until perhaps a frontal boundary sinks through the area mid to late next week. The total accumulated precipitation forecast, the European on the left, the GFS on the right, and again here you see it. Just a smattering of light to moderate precipitation, perhaps heavier off to the south across parts of Pennsylvania, but otherwise we're looking at really just anywhere from a tenth to a few tenths to a half of an inch of precipitation, and some people perhaps getting nothing over the next week or so across the Northeast region. So certainly not wet, a drier pattern overall with some mixed in scattered precipitation opportunities midweek this week and then midweek next week. One more look here, the precipitable water. This really, again, has more to do with the feature we see in this region. I want to show the collision here between the more warm, humid air mass coming up from the north And then this drier air mass that pushes in from the east. Go ahead and play this out. And there you see it in the collision there, right in the oval that I drew. And it's that convergence between those two differing air masses that creates the rising motion and the potential for some locally heavy rain across parts of the Central Plains. Severe weather forecast is low. We do have a marginal risk Friday and Saturday, or Tuesday and Wednesday. My days of the week are all mixed up. Here we go, Thursday on the bottom here on a marginal risk on Tuesday. This is associated with that frontal boundary as it moves through. A marginal risk on Wednesday across coastal areas of the Northeast region. High temperatures, just closing us out here, is that area of high pressure, that frontal boundary bringing in cooler temperatures to the Midwest today. Still going to be in the 90s across the Northeast region Tuesday afternoon. Cooling down for some on Wednesday, but then cool for all on Thursday. Friday, keeping the cooler air in the region. Same thing going to be true on Saturday with lower humidity and high temperatures in the low to mid 80s. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video, and I'll have your Northeast regional update right here on Friday. Have a great day.